Hello and welcome. This is Alchemistexe, and today we're going to be taking a look at Zhen and Na Zhu. So, a quick update: I did successfully transmute Na Zhu. Did it on Sunday. So 4 out of 7 for the boosted rates. Pretty good if he is a unit that you wanted or needed. If he's not somebody, then it doesn't make that big of a difference. But it definitely is nice when you're in a position where you can actually end up with a net positive from transmuting. So that's fun. And then Zhen's upgrade is quite nice as well. It's very gimmicky. Basically, you want him below 50% health and having disable heal, but luckily it's pretty easy to make that happen. And he is very, very good at messing with human opponents. So if you are a fan of PvP, then you'll probably get a kick out of his kit. And he could help you out either in the arena or live PvP. As far as the must-pullness of Na Zhu, I mentioned this last weekly update. I don't consider him a must-have unit by any stretch, but if you like the character, if you really like infinite snowballs, if you like not dying, he can be very, very good for that. Just consider that he is not a raid unit, and depending on what your priorities are, you might want to get somebody who's better at raids than Na Zhu. But if you need someone just for most type of content clearing, he will do that, and he'll do that excellently. Also, if you are a fan of Dark Masamune's kit, then you'll love Na Zhu. I found a lot of parallels in all of my testing. Yeah, so that's about it. It's always weird timing-wise doing it, because it's like, should you pull on this unit who's, not going to be pullable away? But in the case of him, as I said, in the last weekly update, transmutation was the way to go. When there's no good banner, it's not really a choice anymore at that point. First, we'll take a look at Zhen, and then we'll take a look at Na Zhu, and that will be the review. It can be hard to find the time to do these sometimes, especially with where I am in the school term. But in the case of Templar-related stuff, I'm choosing to make the time. Because I love them so much. And that is the core of the gameplay to me. Because sometimes hitting the best possible numbers you can is good. And other times just seeing a character that you really like just shred is in its own kind of satisfying. So yeah, with that, we'll let Na Zhu demolish this small group. And then let's go pay a visit to Zhen on the status screen. Okay, so here is Zhen's status screen. So I did end up finishing the memento banner. So I got Zhen's new memento. It's pretty nice. Not what I would call must-have, but it is good to have. And that made getting his Gate 6 worthwhile. But yeah, let's talk about the mementos and gears first. So if you have either of these, they're very good. Otherwise, you could just stick any old Templar type or Shadow Messiah to run him in one of those groups. It's all stuff that he wants, but nothing I would say is too crazy. The thing that I would say stands out is the move you get from the new memento, which is a teleport that boosts your counterattack power and evasion, which is always nice. The leader skill from the old one is quite nice, because you can get 40 HP and then 20p attack and 20 slash attack, so good for slashers. And the fun thing about Zhen is that he belongs to 2 memento groups. So you could run him Templar, you could run him Shadow Messiah, which is nice. As far as gears go, there's pretty much 2 that are going to live on him permanently, and that's his sword from Sacred Stones, and then the VCR from the old memento. And collectively, they'll take care of just damage, evasion, slash mod, and HP. You won't get agility out of it, so for the 3rd gear, you might want something that does agility. I wasn't hurting for it, so I used the single target up instead. The Ring Guard will give you an agility buff as his Templar specific move, but it's not one of the best ones. I think the damage buff ones are a little bit better, assuming you're running a situation where you even can slot the Ring Guard in the first place, and that's going to be rare. So otherwise, I would say an agility gear would be a good priority, or the Zwei VCR to get the extra jump if that helps him get to where he needs to go. Or definitely either the Xeno Ring or the Neo Vita would work as well. So it just depends on what you need for that final one. But the other two are definitely going to be pretty much set for him to function well. As far as ability setups go, I just run his Job plus his Gate 2 augmented counter, the Disable Heal Curse move, which will give you the same P attack as Black Psyche Liquor. So you do have to give it up, but I think it's worth it because of the extra output you can get from him having Disable Heal. But we'll get to that when we do the moves. And then definitely, of course, Gate 2, because he's one of those lucky units that gets their Regal Garuda Blade upgraded and they lose the agility penalty from it. So that is definitely nice. More agility is good. So for Gate 1, just definitely stats that you want. Definitely Gate 2 is a high priority though. I would get that one first, just because that will give you access to the counter that procs on skills. And then you'll also just have more attack. It's a lot of good things all in one passive, which is always good to see. It's amazing how like you get passives like this, and then other people just have totally garbage passives. But luckily Zhen is the fortunate one there. So for his Gate 3, evasion is relevant to him because ideally he will counter then dodge. And it's an all attack 30, which is pretty nice. Good just all around. If you're not running something more damage specific, could be worthwhile. Gate 4 is more stats that you want. Gate 5 is really nice because it puts conditional damage on his one of his bigger nukes. And that's not super hard to do. He can do a little bit himself. And then you could always do a Naofumi or a Zheng or somebody that can very quickly put Disable Heal on an enemy that almost nobody's immune to that, and then you've got your conditional damage taken care of. And then of course, you know, more HP is great for him because the higher his HP, the more survivable he's going to be at 50%, which is very, very nice. So yeah, that is about it for the status screen for Zhen. So let's go take a look at some of his moves. Okay, so here we are at the training area. So first up, we're going to use Zhen's Memento skill from his new Memento, which will teleport, boost his counter, and then also give him lots of evasion. And then I'll show you exactly how dodgy he can be with this little barrage action of attacks. So this is kind of nice. I wouldn't say it's like essential to his kit, but it's good for positioning and then good for survivability as well. Because when you're playing dangerously like he is, it's definitely much better to dodge what you can. And then I brought Minerva here for two reasons. One is that she can buff P attack. And then the other reason is her shielding. Because when healing is not an option at all, then the only other life-saving maneuver you've got are going to be shields. So both Minerva and Naofumi are going to be really good for that. And then I imagine that Vettel could be useful for that with his shielding ability. Although, since that won't be out until next reset, we'll have to do some testing on that. So this move, Dojigiri, is an AoE around him that will paralyze. And then the follow-up will do silence. So that's definitely a good move to have. That one can hit allies, so you do have to be weary of that. Then this next move is the Echo Edge Uguisu. And this one won't do damage, so it won't miss. And it will nullify CT up and quicken, which is very nice, as well as lowering accuracy. So as a guy who likes to dodge, that helps quite a bit. And then he's got another non-damage debuff, which will lower the CT of enemies, which can be potentially really useful. And then the follow-up will lower agility. So yeah, CT down, then their next turn won't come as fast. So pretty good utility there. Actually, I'm not even sure. Yeah, no, he did Dojigiri, so we'll throw some more damage on him right before he does one of his bigger nukes, which is the Dismisser Mikazuki. So this was the Gate 5 skill. So they do have status effects on them, so we're getting the bonus damage here. And you can see that he's doing a decent amount more to the fire opponent, but it's not super crazy. So he's not explicitly a fire destroyer like some other units are. He's really just, as long as they're human, then he can mess them up. And then So yeah, that's the follow-up where you want him to be having disable heal because it'll do more damage. So it's like conditional damage for them, conditional damage for him. And then he's got another one that this will raise his evasion rate, and it's a really good single target. Just pop him there, then throw in an extra attack there, boost his stats a little bit. Oh, I forgot to mention this before, but his second VCR, that'll take care of the rest of your stats needs for the gear. That'll take care of your agility, etc. This is a 2-turn death sentence. That's all I got to say about that. It's good when it's applicable. And then this was the shield that I mentioned earlier. So you got 3 turns where he can, functionally have extra HP, which is nice because the other extra HP option is not there. This is his switch positions and days. Very niche, but being able to manipulate your positioning is kind of nice. And if you can daze on the side, then that's good too. Then he's also got a teleport that it'll lower the evasion of enemies, and then it'll also boost his slash res. So potentially good. That can be good for getting him to the enemies, and then they start gathering around him and damaging him, and he starts countering. This move can berserk, so that can be helpful for making sure that, they trigger his counter. But they do still have to be in range, so. And then finally, his weapon art is a randomly hitting attack that it's 5 random hits, and it'll do CT down. So yeah, that is about it for the moves. Alright, and here we are at Na Zhu's status screen. So I was also really lucky and got his memento in the banner as well. So there was no sad choice with the selector. Got his on the way and then got Zhen's with the selector. And for Na Zhu, it's important for him quite a bit, mostly because of the VCR. The memento itself is not really too crazy. A little more damage, a little bit of Thunder Exploit, and a kind of cool CT lowering attack, which is nice, but nothing to go crazy about. The VCR, on the other hand, is where you will get his per kill snowball, which is agility and slash mod. So if you want him to be like a long level, just like super carry unit, then you're going to want to have that. He can still get good burst damage just by his normal kit if you don't have the memento. Say you have him and you want to use him. I'd say he's perfectly usable without it, but if you do want him for that, like just killing enemies, soloing maps, then you do want the VCR. So as far as skill loadout goes, mostly just completely his basic kit, his unique job for the basic, and then his reactive, which will be a preemptive counter, and he'll drain back some of the health. So that's kind of nice. He wants as much health as possible. If the attack misses or if they die from the drain, then all the better. In this case, I was testing out his counter and how much it can do, which it can be really nice, especially if you charge up. But if you need mobility, you've got stealth, and if you want just more HP and P attack, you could also do that too. Any one of these passives is viable on him, depending on what your needs are. But I was definitely enjoying the counter setup. So as far as gears go, he's got a weapon from the event. You definitely want the VCR if you've got it, and then you definitely want something with HP regen on it. Whether that's regen armor, the Kukulon earrings, or this Optima scarf. I like the jump +1 on it. That's why I tend to bias towards that. But not everyone has that, so there is some way you can have regen armor though, and he really, really wants it. But yeah, let's look at his enlightenment. So his gate 1, I would not prioritize this, because as much as he wants the HP and being tankier is nice, you want to build him towards offense. So that's why I didn't prioritize that. I did prioritize 2 because much like Zhen, he has a good Regal Garuda Blade type gate 2, where you lose the agility loss, and then you also just get stats that he wants, like P attack and slash mod and evasion. So very good. His gate 3 is nothing too amazing. It's like HP, all attack. I wouldn't prioritize this one. There's other ways to get the same leader skill, and I don't think the disable heal res is worth it by itself. More alright stats, but it's still very defensively oriented. So that's why I say like 2, 5, and 4 out of 5 for 6. Because You can only get so many of his shards, so gotta use them wisely. And then once his EX quest comes out, then you can start finishing the less important gates. So his gate 5 is really good because his best move gets 2 more charges on it and it gets a little bit better stats on it. But mostly just having 2 extra charges of his move that will increase his slash mod. It's very, very good to have. It's a key to reaching, good damage with him. Oh, right. And then as far as seals go, of course, P attack is what I went for. And then he was one of the characters I did want to go all out for the slash mod. And then also for the gluttony seal, I went with a little bit of jewels obtained and then extra healing because he wants all the healing he can possibly get. I might even switch that jewels obtained to healing if I get a huge surplus of mallets, but that's at least at the time of the game now, that seems like a pretty big if. But yeah, he's just a very simple, straightforward unit. He slashes things. He can charge up to slash things, and every time he kills something, if you have the VCR, he gets a little bit better at slashing things. So let's go take a look at his moves. Okay, so let's start the Na Zhu showcase. So here is his execution move. It is lateral, so he can hit 3 at once. And then let's stack some health regen on him. So now he's getting a ton per turn. So first off, let's give his own regen move, the Imperial Winds. This is his Babel War Art. And this one is going to do AoE around him, which is nice. And then also applies auto heal and auto jewels. So now he's got like 4,000 per turn. So it won't last long, only a few turns, but it is really nice. It can help him out, especially if in the beginning of the battle you're getting hit pretty hard. And we're just taking a look at some of his damage before we use his P attack charge up, just to get a sense of what it looks like against a Thunder opponent. So that's the best case scenario. Also, he can stop with Deadly Gale. I mean, I imagine most of the time you're probably going to prioritize killing over CCing, but sometimes stop is very handy to have. If you can't kill them on the next turn and they're going to, do something. So this move is what I'd call his bread and butter. AoE, teleports, and boosts his slash stackable up to 3 times, and you get 2 extra charges of it. So yeah, this move has Grandeur in its name, and Grandeur it has. So the idea here is we're using it 3 times, then we'll use his charge up, and then we'll use one of his stronger nukes and see what we can get damage-wise onto the Thunder opponent. Still healing quite a bit per turn. So yeah, this is his 3 times P attack charge up. Pretty standard. It's on his main kit, so it's kind of nice to have. Although I don't think you'd really run another sub on him anyway. So we're looking at the range for the more AoE ones. They won't do as much, and then he can also ignore defense as well. And then if you were to use his weapon art while you're charged up, you'll almost certainly heal yourself back up to full. We'll showcase that in a little. But this was the most amount of damage. So with Mad Winds, almost 60k. So that's not too bad. But just to showcase some more, he can also do a little bit of jewel damage with his Execution Edge Gale Force. But yeah, so overall, he's got a lot of good options and a lot different types of AoE, some around him, some not around him. And he's very, very mobile. That's what I really like about him. I like that you can kind of jump around, pogo sticking. That was his weapon art. So not even charged up, he healed back, because it heals back double the damage you do rather than like half or whatever some of the other Drain characters are like. So he's definitely like, with that one move, just like the king of Drain. And this was his memento ability that will do CT down. So that is it for the video. I love these 2 units. Hope you guys who have them like them too. And I will see you all next time.